Now on Denver 7 News at 4, the Great American Beer Festival is sold out this year, but it hasn't always been that way. We'll take you back to its humble beginnings.
Breastfeeding and pumping can be a challenge for working moms. How one app is trying to help and create a more supportive work culture. And our country's shrinking coral reefs are putting us more at risk with hurricanes. How scientists are working to reverse the damage.
And new video sheds insight into what a Platteville police officer was aware of in the moments before his police cruiser was hit by a train with a handcuffed woman inside. Thank you for joining us. I'm Micah Smith. We start today with that new video. It is hard to watch, especially when you know a woman was inside at the time. In this video, we hear Sergeant Pablo Vasquez admit he had no idea he parked on train tracks and was unaware that another officer placed the cuffed woman in his squad car.
Well, I didn't know she was in my car because I remember when the train hit, I said, was she in my car? And she said, oh my God, she was. Okay. So I didn't know that she was in my car anyhow.
Officers detained 20-year-old Yureni Rios Gonzalez shortly before the collision in connection with an alleged road rage incident a short time earlier. Body cam video shows another officer placing her in Sergeant Vasquez's back seat.
I didn't realize how close I was to the tracks, and it took the rear end of my car and it just spun it, but it didn't roll it. It just threw it. It just like moved it. It moved it about a good 60 yards.
An attorney for Rios Gonzalez says his client suffered multiple injuries, including 9 broken ribs, a broken arm, several broken teeth, and a fractured sternum. He says she also injured her back, her head, and her legs. Colorado is getting more than $3 million from FEMA for Marshall Fire recovery. Half of it will go to fire suppression activities, including firefighter ground and air support. The other half will go to the state's Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for managing the firefight and recovery effort. Have you filled up lately? The good news is we're not getting the worst of gas prices compared to the rest of the country. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta reports on what's driving up the costs once again.
We're still seeing a lot of fluctuations. The prices go up, the prices go down. Really early this morning, we were telling you gas at this Circle K not too far from downtown Denver was coming in at $3.99 a gallon. Now it's about $3.68 a gallon. We're talking about a more than 20-cent drop in prices in just a couple of hours. So that was a big change. A lot of places all across Denver, though, they are seeing changes pretty similar. Some spots we're seeing close to a 50-cent increase. That was just in a matter of days so far this week. The good news is we don't live in Los Angeles where people are paying more than $6 a gallon for gas. In Phoenix, people are paying close to, if not more than $5 for a gallon of gas. And here's what you really need to know. OPEC, that's a group that produces oil. On Wednesday, they said they're not going to be making as much, which means less crude oil, less gasoline for us. And in turn, we could be seeing those gas prices get higher and higher in Colorado in the next couple of weeks.
As a result, over the last week, oil prices have jumped about $11 a barrel, and that's something that's likely to start pushing prices up in Denver, maybe to the tune of 10 to as much as 30 cents a gallon in the next few weeks.
I mentioned Los Angeles for a good reason. They're having some pretty big refinery issues, which is why their prices are so high. We're not having those same issues right here in Colorado, and hopefully it stays that way so we never get close to that big price tag at the pump. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. Gas prices rising, stock prices sinking, the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 all dropping 2 to 3% today. Traders fear strong jobs data will keep the Fed from easing away from rate hikes.
The unemployment rate fell to its lowest point in 50 years last month, and that's large in part because people are leaving the job market. U.S. businesses added about 250,000 jobs in September, according to data that is out just today. But almost 400,000 women left the workforce, combined with about 150,000 teenagers. That shrunk the overall labor pool and creates opportunities for job seekers.
This is a time in your life where you actually want to be the most confident you've ever been, the most resilient, the most persistent, because you need to see all the possibilities available.
While hiring slowed a little bit, the fact that employers still added so many jobs in September could end up being bad news for anyone looking to get a loan. The Federal Reserve is considering another interest rate hike in November. A strong job market could nudge the Fed toward a larger increase. It would be the 6th rate hike this year and would drive up the cost of borrowing even further for most Americans.
I do think it's probably stay the course from a Fed perspective. I don't think there's anything in this report that would cause them to dramatically change their approach. I don't think they'll accelerate more than they have been, but I also don't think they're probably going to take their foot off the gas.
The rate hikes are having an impact. Credit card rates, mortgage rates, and car loans are all at their highest point in at least a decade. If you took out a loan on a base model Honda Civic today compared to January, you really would wind up paying an extra $1,100 in interest over 5 years. A new warning from the FBI ahead of the midterm elections. The newsfeed starts with some new concerns that foreign actors will use misinformation to influence the elections this fall. Now, the warning covers social media, fake websites, and those automated text messages that I know I have been receiving a lot of recently. Now, the president is signing an executive order to protect personal data that is shared between the U.S. and Europe. Court found that the U.S. had too great an ability to see personal data of Europeans. Europe does have significantly stronger data protections for people's information than our country does. Russian President Vladimir Putin, he has mentioned nuclear weapons more than once since his invasion of Ukraine. And President Biden now saying that is a concern that we need to take seriously. The president saying that the risk is at the highest level since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. The Department of Health and Human Services says it is stocking up on a drug used to treat radiation sickness from nuclear weapons. $290 million will go toward buying the treatment. It has FDA approval for both kids and adults, and is typically used for an immune disorder that causes uncontrolled bleeding. That is also a symptom of radiation exposure. The recovery from Hurricane Ian is just getting started, but despite everything that people are dealing with, their gratitude is contagious.
We are alive. We're blessed.
We're still breathing, so every day is a blessing.
The challenges that still lie ahead more than a week after the storm.
Also ahead, the Great American Beer Fest is 40 years old. We take a look at its humble beginnings. And Stacy will tell us how long it'll actually feel like fall around here.